First, we are wrapping up September today, but Denver, well, we continue to close in on breaking heat records. This time for the hottest September ever. Today, though, we did dodge the 90s.
Just barely, it felt like, though. I don't know, Kathy. I felt that wind and that cool front come through midday, but before that, it was plenty warm.
It was warm. We were hopeful that the front would be in by 9 a.m. It came in closer to noon. So our high so far officially is 85, but that is much better than that record-tying high of 92 from yesterday. And hopefully no records today as the system begins to move from north to south along the Front Range. We do have some gusty winds with that front, which is moving through, which does give me some concerns for high fire danger, certainly. And we'll be talking about that in Maine weather coming up because some areas are going to go under a fire weather watch for tomorrow. And there's the chance that we could see another record high temperature later in the week. So we'll have all that in Maine weather in just a bit.
Right now, I-70 eastbound off-ramp to C-470 east in Golden is closed. That area has been closed for hours. A semi carrying liquid dish soap rolled over this morning. Colorado State Patrol say the truck's load was hanging off the overpass, and that fluid and that soap spilled out. If it ever rains, the road's going to be really clean, but in the meantime, it's a mess. CSP says the driver was taken to the hospital. No other cars were involved in that crash. The eastbound lanes are expected to be open in the next half hour.
Today, so many around the world are remembering the Basketball Hall of Famer Dikembe Mutombo, who died in Atlanta after his battle with brain cancer. He spent his first 5 years in the NBA with the Nuggets. He'd been battling brain cancer for the last 2 years. Dikembe was just 58 years old. Mutombo was most notably known for that signature finger wag following a blocked shot, which he went on to use in commercials, and NBA fans mimicked it all around the world. But off the court, he was known for his extensive humanitarian work, particularly in his native country, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Longtime Nuggets coach George Karl, one of the many posting tributes today, he said, "I hate cancer. Rest in peace." Of course, Karl is also a cancer survivor.
And 9 News reporter Kevin Vaughn spoke with someone who knew Dikembe outside of his basketball and humanitarian work as well.
Kim and Tom, it turns out Dikembe Mutombo ate at a local restaurant almost daily when he was here. That restaurant is gone, but the co-owner carries many happy memories of him all these years later.
This is my favorite spot here. This is where I eat almost every day.
We opened in 1983. Actually.
Pasta was a Cherry Creek staple. Patty Pathman was co-owner.
And it started out as, serving lunch and a lot of takeout.
And after he came to Denver to play for the Nuggets, it became Dikembe Mutombo's go-to spot.
He likes to eat chicken, he likes to eat pasta, he loves lemonade.
That was an understatement.
Finally, instead of just giving him a glass, we'd give him the whole pitcher, and he loved that.
Mutombo's death brought back a flood of memories, like the sports star eating at her home and hanging out with her son, signing basketballs and posters for him, and complimenting her on one feature of her home.
We had vaulted ceilings, and so when he came in, he was so happy with the vaulted ceilings, but when he'd have to get from one room to another, he would have to duck underneath.
Or the time...
Everything is big because I'm 7'3".
The time she visited his kitchen to deliver an order of food.
The countertops in the kitchen were made custom, and I could hardly reach the countertops to put the boxes of food on top. They were so high. I can't say enough nice things about the type of person he was. He just was very gracious.
Patty Pathman told us another story about his arrival at her home for dinner. In his big black car with DM55 license plates, word spread quickly in the neighborhood. She described a Pied Piper-like scene, neighborhood kids following behind as he slowly pulled into her driveway.
It's funny, you think of a guy who grew up in the Democratic Republic of Congo, went to college in Washington, and probably grew used to some of the American metropolitan areas. But Denver was not a third world country, but a strange place for him to live 5 years.
Yeah, he talks in some of the old videos we've seen about the cold, the snow.
Yeah.
There's a clip I saw of him walking in front of his home with snow on the ground. He said, "It's too cold, I've got to go inside."
And he couldn't hide here. I mean, wherever he went, people knew it was Dikembe. He was so big. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's so interesting because you all, sports-wise, can remember all those great moments on the court. But even if you're just a casual fan, you remember that, but you really know that he was unbelievably popular in the community. And kids loved him, and he just had this love about him, this aura, if you will.
Somewhere in my basement in a box of sports stuff I've kept is a towel that says Mount Mutombo, and it's elevation 5287 and 2 inches.
You remember, of course, that everyone remembers the game that they beat Seattle, and the series they beat Seattle. They then played the Jazz in what was a very memorable series. But I mean, that was when he was at the height of his popularity in Denver. And you remember John Elway in a Mutombo jersey out before the game screaming to the crowd, let's get ready to Mutombo. So he was the center of not just for the basketball team, but the center of sports for a while here in Colorado. He'll be missed. Thanks, Kevin.
Also over the weekend, we learned country music Hall of Famer Chris Christopherson died. Cause of death wasn't immediately released. He's best known for compositions like Help Me Make It Through the Night, Sunday Morning Coming Down, and Me and Bobby McGee. And of course, his acting career as well. He had a role in A Star is Born with Barbra Streisand. Christopherson was 88 years old. The number of lives lost due to Hurricane Helene is over 100. Helene came ashore in Florida last week as Category 4 storm. But even as it lost its strength, the storm could still leave plenty of devastation in its path.
Yeah, it already has in western North Carolina, drenched by the storm, where they're still coping with all the flooding. That's been the problem. Jay Gray is in Boone, North Carolina. He has the latest.
Good evening. We want to give you a first-hand look at some of the devastation Helene left behind. You can see power cables across the roadway here. They are down. They're not operating. And you can see how it happened. Water filled this entire area. It was underwater in a matter of 30 minutes, residents say. The power pole was knocked down. This entire community caked in mud right now. You can see that water high enough to lift that SUV, throw it into this tree. And we've talked to a lot of people here. There are hundreds missing and a very real concern about what that may mean long term.
Homes are gone, and that's a big concern for us. Where are those people? We have 30 confirmed fatalities at this time, and we expect that to really increase over the coming days, which is just the most tragic piece of this, is the loss of our friends, our families, and our loved ones.
Now, emergency officials do say some of those missing just don't have the ability to communicate with anyone. All the cell service is down, no power for more than 2 million. We know that more than 100 have died as a result of this storm, and more than a third of those in the Carolinas. They are choppering some essential supplies into those areas that are still too devastated to get into either on the ground or by water. And they say they'll continue that for as long as necessary. As for restoring the power in places like this, what we're hearing is not days, but perhaps a week or more. That's the latest from here in Boone, North Carolina. I'm Jay Gray. Now back to you.
Volunteers and first responders deployed to Florida and the southern states to help with recovery. And we'll get an update on Colorado's Task Force 1. They're in North Carolina. That's coming up in our next half hour.
If the government approves, DirecTV could buy rival Dish Network for a single dollar. A new deal out this week. Dish's owner, EchoStar, will sell the company if DirecTV assumes its billions of dollars in debt. Now, if those companies combine, the new service will have about 20 million subscribers. Both companies have really struggled to keep up with the streaming wars with platforms like Netflix, Hulu, and Prime Video. For years, there have been talks of satellite services merging. The government previously blocked a proposed $19 billion merger in 2002 on competitive grounds. Happening today in Colorado, the trial against the proposed multi-billion-dollar merger between King Soopers parent company Kroger and Albertsons. Democratic Governor Phil Weiser filed the lawsuit to permanently block the merger back in February. He also wants each company to pay $1 million for alleged collusion between the two companies during a strike in 2022. Weiser said the trial will focus on what the merger will mean for shoppers, saying it would limit competition and drive up prices. Today, union workers rallied outside the state capitol. Our Janelle Finch was there as well. She heard their concerns about the merger. We're going to have much more on that story coming up at 5 o'clock.